you have probably been creating Christmas wreaths for many, many years, but are you creating Christmas wreaths that are biodegradable and sustainable? A lot of us this year, from a floristry perspective, have had to take a long, hard look at the things that we're doing, and I'm constantly looking to be as biodegradable and carbon positive as I can be as a business. So I'm going to share with you 5 things that you can do to perhaps make your wreaths even more sustainable and planet friendly. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is the mechanics of a wreath and what you can look out for when you're creating that. And some of us have had to change some habits, some of us have been there already, and some of us can just still experiment and explore. So I'm going to talk to you about that. The second thing I'm going to talk to you about is the greenery that you use for your wreaths, what you can look out for, how you can change perhaps the things that you source, and what you can do to actually make your Christmas wreaths or holiday wreaths look very, very festive. The third thing I'm going to say is about garden grown material and how you can use that. And if you haven't got a garden, what you can perhaps do for foraging and ingredients for foraging. The fourth thing I'm going to talk to you about is using dried ingredients for festive wreaths. And the fifth thing, well, I'm going to tell you really the secrets of keeping your wreath super well. So, mechanics. A lot of us have been making wreaths for a long time and have got into the habits of, first of all it was floral foam, and perhaps some of you are still using floral foam, but I think all of us now realise that that is a really poor plastic alternative that we can actually change. So I know each one of us would want to make a material difference to our sustainable footprint, and so I'm now looking at biodegradable mechanics, more things like willow and moss and even straw that you can use that really make your wreath one of those that you can actually just get your customers to toss in the compost bin. So when you're either teaching your classes or creating your wreaths yourself, I think it's really important that you explore alternatives, even to florist's wire. Nobody needs to use real wire. There are absolute alternatives to that, and it still will make a wreath that binds and will look amazing. None of these wreaths that you see here are made with any wire or any plastic at all. And I just had a series of live online classes that we've beamed around the world, and all of these wreaths were made in front of those classes, and lots of questions from even the southern hemisphere about keeping their wreaths well and ingredients, and that's what I share. So there's a link somewhere if you want to join our newsletter or come on some classes next year where we're really exploring the art of environmental floristry. And in that art, I think there is a need and a desire, particularly from everybody who's come on the course, which is brilliant actually, to change their floral practices. So in those mechanics, you can really look at alternatives. I know it takes time and energy, but I think it's really important things to do. So coming on to the second thing now, greenery. All of us live in different parts of the country here in the UK where I'm based, and across the world. We all have different traditions, we all have different things growing around us, we all have different favourite ingredients that we like to use. My recommendation for a very biodegradable and sustainable wreath is to look at things that are really local to you and that really shout and sing Christmas to you, because those will really be the things that your customers and even you will love to add for Christmas. Now obviously pine is really traditional, and cypress. I'm lucky enough to be quite friendly with a tree surgeon, a woodcutter. He comes here to chop and maintain our 250-year-old horse chestnut, but then he also comes and says, oh, I've just chopped down this tree, do you want a bit? So find floral friends find floral sustainable friends because they can really help you, and perhaps it's worth an exchange of a wreath. My woodsman always gets a wreath. So I use pine, I use eucalyptus, and we have a eucalyptus farm, and there's actually a beautiful old boat just passing, and we didn't have any boats yesterday. It was really stormy in the UK yesterday. We were lucky to not lose any big branches, but all the boats, it's too windy. It was like the sea on the canal, and they never go there because it's really difficult to steer them in there. So we actually have got a kind of flotilla of boats today because none of them were out yesterday, and they'll all be going to their winter moorings, and it's just lovely to see them actually. So yeah, have a look at foliage that you have and pine that you have around you, and we have a eucalyptus farm just about half an hour away from us in North Wales, well, just about an hour. Neil's father 50 years ago planted that eucalyptus orchard. It's beautiful, it's scented, it's really seasonal, and for us it's really sustainable because we're not importing foliage in from other parts of the world. I feel really strongly about using ingredients that don't have carbon footprints, and actually isn't it ironic that a lot of floristry and floral ingredients ended up having these massive carbon footprints. So I'm really looking to avoid that in my greenery, and I encourage you to have an explore of your own greenery as well. So the third thing I'm going to talk to you is about garden grown materials. Now I'm lucky enough to have 1.5 acres here. We're right next to the Shropshire Union Canal. I have hedgerows which I can forage in because they're my hedgerows. But in the UK, if you're a florist, you can't actually legally forage. But if you're just making it for yourself, you can. But I'd still urge you to be responsible, because what you cut is actually it's food for the local wildlife. And talking of the local wildlife, when I've added some of these holly berries and the rose hips to my wreaths, we've had all the birds actually, so there's like a wildlife warning that comes with these wreaths. We've had all the birds actually try to take the berries off. I never cut everything here. We've got a big holly tree at the front of our wharf, and so we leave berries on there for them, and they do strip them actually because they do get hungry in the winter. So have a look at some other garden grown materials that you have. Ivy's beautiful, holly is amazing, and also the berries that you can find perhaps. So this is wild rose that I planted in the hedgerows, and it grows back every year, so you can actually have a hunt. But there will be other things that you have in your gardens that you can pick, you know, some herbs perhaps, some buried things. So it's just about the things that you love that are growing for you that you can use. So garden grown again, no carbon footprint, and very sustainable. So the fourth thing I'm going to talk to you about is drieds. Now you might think it's counterintuitive to use drieds for fresh wreaths, but they will survive. You know, they do last outside. If you look at some of the seed heads, they're still standing in your garden in January and February. So of course they're going to be on a wreath that's generally in a much more sheltered position on your home. So have a look in the summer for all of those beautiful flowers and seeds heads that you might be growing, or find yourself a local flower farmer. And in the UK, I belong to an organisation called Flowers from the Farm, and there are growers up and down the country, and I know this is the same for the States, the grown not flown movement, get it the right way round. And it's really important to kind of look for those things that you can dry then and then take them back out and use them. It's almost like summer coming back to you through your creative wreaths. Gosh, it's starting to really snow now. Anyway, I use Nigella as a seed pod. I love the flowers, but truthfully I only grow it for the seed pods. But you will have other seed heads in your garden that you can use, other ingredients. Honesty is a really good one as well. So I've got some other videos on how to peel honesty, so there's a real tip to that as well. And also I share some other dried ingredients that I'll put the links in this video as well, so how you can dry in the summer. So So if you're interested in seeing those, I'd be delighted if you've got any comments or any ideas on other things that you can grow yourself for drieds. I absolutely love that mixture of fresh and dried wreaths. So that's my fourth thing. And the fifth thing that I'm going to share with you, how to keep your wreath well. So many of you know, and I'm a botanist, so I learnt this many moons ago at uni, that leaves and plants and shrubs take up water by two methods. They take up water by their stems, but they also take up water from their leaf surface. So if you can keep your wreaths really hydrated by either watering the base, and actually these leaves are getting a bit of a water now in the snow, but you just need to kind of take them off the door just now and again, or take them outside. It is the very dry air that gets them really dehydrated, but they will rehydrate once you've watered them. And do this, you know, every week if you can remember, or every kind of 3 or 4 days. And I have customers who have wreaths that last well into February, as long as they look after them. You just need to encourage people to do that, so you can get wreaths that absorb moisture from the bottom going round, and also from watering them with a little can. So they're really easy to look after. You just have to remember to do it. Maybe you set yourself a diary, remember. Anyway, because it's starting to really tip down with snow here in Cheshire, it's feeling very Christmassy, but I think I'm going to go in and sit by my fire soon. So lovely to see you, and see you in the next video.